Hey guys, I'd like to share something/discuss something that I feel like isn't really talked about enough in the Loc community, especially in the Sisterlock community. So, when I first started my journey, I noticed that, of course there were changes as my hair was maturing, but as your hair matures, the similarities that your hair has as it's getting older and roughening up, it's pretty similar at first. Every strand looks pretty much identical to each other, but as you mature, as the years go by, as the months go by, things start to look different all over your head. Some strands grow longer than other strands. Some strands grow thicker than other strands. Some strands feel softer than other strands. Vice versa, some of them feel rougher than the other ones. And I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't know if this was a good thing, if it was a bad thing, because everything was new. I've never had dreads before. Part of the reason why I chose Sisterlocks as my form of locking was not only because of, how full the look was and how more versatile the look was, but it was also because of how neat and identical each strand looked. I thought this was very appealing to the eye, and it definitely did have that look at first, as far as everything looking very identical and conformed. But as I grew and my locks matured, everything started looking different. During my journey of getting my retightenings for the past, year and months and stuff like that, I've had times where I would have to have locks repaired. Locks would have to be combined due to wear and tear of just going about normal life. And it's absolutely normal, things get damaged and things get fixed. Some strands are stronger than others. Some strands need a little more help. But something that I've noticed is I had to start distinguishing, different strands in my hair, which ones were for me to worry about and which ones were, this one is just different. It's doing its own thing, but it's still healthy and it's still beautiful. Between research and conversations that I've had, I'll show you a strand of what it looks like for a lock to be weak. So when a lock is weak, it has a lot of holes in it, and the weak area isn't necessarily always like at the end or always at the root. For me, it's mainly in the middle of the lock, and you can tell how stressed out the middle looks compared to the base and the tip of the lock. These weak locks are usually like combined together with stronger locks or other weak locks to make a strong lock, or sometimes they fall out. Those are usually the locks that fall out and are quick to go, especially if they're weak from your scalp. It took me, having the confidence to communicate with people to be like, you know what, I don't like the way this lock looks, what's going on with this lock, for me to figure out this type of information. And I highly encourage anybody that's going through their lock journey to speak up for themselves if they feel like something isn't, looking right and feeling right, because, this journey isn't as smooth as people may think it is if you don't have locks. It's a beautiful journey, through and through, but there's ups and downs for this journey. I've learned to appreciate every single strand of my hair, especially when I lose a lock. Sometimes I keep them, I feel them, I look at them, I reminisce how long I've had that lock. But I've just learned to appreciate everything that is in my hair, in my body, my appearance, who I am as a person through this entire journey. And I'm very blessed to have, made the decision to go on this journey, because I didn't know how rewarding it would be. But I'm no longer insecure about the different, textures, the different looks, some locks being skinny, some locks being longer, some locks being thicker. I'm not intimidated by it anymore, and I accept it because, everything doesn't have to be perfect. I had to start looking from a perspective of treating my locks as if it was another individual and, what these strands have gone through over these ages. My hair has gone through being moisturized, loose natural to just, just being locked up and no moisture and tension every 4 to 5 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. No matter how frustrating this journey gets for whoever is on the loc journey, you have to learn to treat your hair with compassion and patience and look at everything with intention. Like when it comes to me noticing and recognizing different things about different areas of my hair, I look at, okay, so the front of my hair, it's a bit thin right now. It's a bit looser and, grown out more compared to the middle of my head. But that's because when I go work out, I sweat. And this is where I sweat the most because it's closest to my face. When I do hairstyles like ponytails, there's more tension in the front of my hair. So that's why it looks like this. There's a reason why there's different things going on in different areas of your hair. The back of your hair, where you have your kitchen and the back of your crown, that's where you do a lot of sweating too. So of course that's not going to be as neat as the middle of your hair. The back of your hair is going to be thicker because it doesn't experience as much exposure to sun, to anything really. Another thing to put into perspective is that people have different hair types on the same head. So, when people have their journeys, they're like low density, this type of hair. I start my journey off with this type and this is the look. Honestly, you could have low density in one part of your hair and high density in the other part of your hair. You could have 4C in one part of your hair and you could have 4B in another part of your hair. So all the locks may look the same when you start, but when it comes to the maturing process, what time they mature and how they look when they mature and how they look when they're grown out, that's all going to be different and it's okay. But anyway, I just wanted to share this with anybody who may be going through the same thing during their loc journey or, any insight for anybody who's thinking about joining the loc community. Hopefully this helps. And if you resonate with any of this and if you have your own experience of, dealing with similar issues, please comment down below. I would love to hear what you'd have to say about your journey. And for anybody dealing with any loc insecurities right now, I just want to remind you to stay strong and continue on with the journey because it is very rewarding, physically and internally.